A patient safety organization is a group, institution or association that improves medical care by reducing medical errors. In the 1990s, reports in several countries revealed a staggering number of patient injuries and deaths each year due to avoidable adverse health care events. In the United States, the Institute of Medicine report called for a broad national effort to include the establishment of patient safety centers, expanded reporting of adverse events and development of safety programs in healthcare organizations. The organizations that developed ranged from governmental to private, and some founded by industry, professional or consumer groups. Common functions of patient safety organizations are data collection and analysis, reporting, education, funding and advocacy. Functions. Patient safety organizations may use several approaches to reducing adverse events, collect data on the prevalence and individual details of errors, analyze sources of error by root cause analysis, propose and disseminate methods for error prevention, design and conduct pilot projects to study safety initiatives, including monitoring of results, raise awareness and inform the public, health professionals, providers, purchasers and employers, conduct fundraising and provide funding for research and safety projects. Advocate for regulatory and legislative changes. Governmental organizations. World Health Organization, World Alliance for Patient Safety. In response to a 2002 World Health Assembly resolution, the World Health Organization launched the World Alliance for Patient Safety in October 2004. The goal was to develop standards for patient safety, and assist UN member states to improve the safety of health care. The alliance raises awareness and political commitment to improve the safety of care and facilitates the development of patient safety policy and practice in all WHO member states. Each year, the alliance delivers a number of programs covering systemic and technical aspects to improve patient safety around the world. At the 59th World Health Assembly in May 2006, the Secretariat reported that the Alliance held patient safety meetings in 5 of the 6 WHO regions and 40 technical workshops in 18 countries. Since the launch of the Alliance in October 2004, significant progress was achieved in 6 areas. The first Global Patient Safety Challenge, which for 2005-2006 developed the WHO guidelines on hand hygiene in health care. A patient involvement group, Patients for Patient Safety, built networks of patients organizations from around the world. Through regional workshops, a patient safety taxonomy was developed to classify data on patient safety problems. Prevalent studies conducted on patient harm in 10 developing countries. A WHO collaborating center was established to develop and disseminate safety solutions. The WHO draft guidelines on adverse event reporting and learning systems. Patients for Patient Safety. Patients for Patient Safety is part of the World Alliance for Patient Safety launched in 2004 by the WHO. The project emphasizes the central role patients and consumers can play in efforts to improve the quality and safety of health care around the world. PFPS works with a global network of patients, consumers, caregivers, and consumer organizations to support patient involvement in patient safety programs, both within countries and in the global programs of the World Alliance for Patient Safety. Australia and New Zealand. Therapeutic Goods Administration and Adverse Drug Reactions Advisory Committee. The Therapeutic Goods Administration is a unit of the Australian Government Department of Health and Ageing. The TGA approves and monitors prescription and non-prescription drugs, medical supplies and devices, and blood and biological products. Risks to users are assessed prior to product introduction, and manufacturers are regularly audited for efficacy. efficacy, quality, and safety. Manufacturers are required to report adverse drug effects to the Adverse Drug Reactions Advisory Committee of the TGA. Reporting by medical professionals and consumers is voluntary. ADRAC notifies medical professionals and the public by recalls and alerts on its website and publications. In December 2003, the Australian and New Zealand governments signed an agreement to establish a joint regulatory organisation for therapeutic products. The Australia-New Zealand Therapeutic Products Authority will replace the Australian Therapeutic Goods Administration and the New Zealand Medicines and Medical Devices Safety Authority, and be accountable to the Australian and New Zealand governments. Implementing legislation is scheduled for introduction into both countries' parliaments in July 2006. On the 16th of July 2007, the New Zealand State Services Minister Annette King announced that the government is not proceeding at this stage with legislation that would have enabled the establishment of a joint agency with Australia to regulate therapeutic products. Quote, she further advised that the government does not have the numbers in Parliament to put in place a sensible, acceptable compromise that would satisfy all parties at this time. The Australian government has been informed of the situation and agrees that suspending negotiations on the joint authority is a sensible course of action. Australian Commission on Safety and Quality in Healthcare. The Australian Commission on Safety and Quality in Healthcare was established by the Australian state and territory governments to lead and coordinate national improvements in safety and quality. The Commission replaced the Australian Council for Safety and Quality in Healthcare in 2006. The Commission engages in collaborative work in patient safety and healthcare quality that benefits from national coordination. This includes the development of the Australian Charter of Healthcare Rights and the National Safety and Quality Health Service Standards, improving areas such as patient identification, medication safety, clinical handover and open disclosure, and reducing healthcare-associated infection. The Commission has also developed the National Safety and Quality Framework to improve the safety and quality of the Australian health system. Other key areas of work for the Commission include National Health Service accreditation, recognizing and responding to clinical deterioration, patient-centered care, safety and quality in mental health and primary care, and the development of national safety and quality indicators as part of the information strategies activity. In its role primarily as a coordination and facilitation body, the Commission utilizes evidence and data and the experience, enthusiasm and commitment of consumers, clinicians, managers and other stakeholders to influence the system to make changes for the safety and quality of health care in Australia. New Zealand Health Quality and AMP Safety Commission. The New Zealand Health Quality and AMP Safety Commission was established in November 2010 as a Crown entity under the New Zealand Public Health and Disability Act 2000 to lead and coordinate work across the health and disability sector for the purposes of monitoring and improving the quality and safety of health and disability support services, helping providers across the whole sector to improve the quality and safety of services. The Commission aims to reduce avoidable deaths and harm, reduce wastage, and make the best use of the health dollar. It works towards the New Zealand triple aim for quality improvement, improve quality, safety and experience of care, improve health and equity for all populations, best value for public health system resources. Commission programs include medication safety, infection prevention and control, reportable events, consumer engagement and participation, and mortality review committees. More information can be found at www.hqsc, Government, NZ United Kingdom National Patient Safety Agency. The National Patient Safety Agency is an NHS special health authority created in July 2001 to improve patient safety within the National Health Service by encouraging voluntary reporting of medical errors, conducting analysis and initiating preventative measures. Since 2005, the NPSA has also been responsible for safety aspects of hospital design, cleanliness and food, safe research practices through the National Research Ethics Service, and performance of individual doctors and dentists through the National Clinical Assessment Service. The NPSA identifies patient safety deficiencies with the input of clinical experts and patients, develops solutions and monitors results of corrections within the NHS. Initiatives and alerts include hand hygiene, information for doctors and patients on steps to reduce risk of error, the vaccine safety and disclosure of error to injured patients. In addition, the National Reporting and Learning System allows NHS employees to provide the NPSA with reports anonymously. National Institute for Health and Clinical Excellence. The National Institute for Health and Clinical Excellence is an independent organization that produces guidance on public health, health technologies and clinical practice in England and Wales. NICE has 3 centers of excellence. The Center for Public Health Excellence develops public health guidance, with information for patients on diagnosis and treatment of specific illnesses and conditions. The Center for Health Technology Evaluation recommends medicines and evaluates the safety and efficacy of procedures within the National Health Service. The Center for Clinical Practice develops evidence-based clinical guidelines for clinicians on the appropriate treatment of people with specific diseases. NICE and the National Patient Safety Agency cooperate in risk assessment of new technology, monitoring safety incidents associated with procedures, and providing solutions if adverse outcomes are reported. In addition, NICE and NPSA share reporting in areas known as confidential inquiries, maternal or infant deaths, childhood deaths to age 16, deaths in persons with mental illness, and perioperative and unexpected medical deaths. United States. On July 29, 2005, the United States Congress established guidelines for patient safety organizations under the Patient Safety Quality Act of 2005. The focus of the legislation is to provide incentives for clinicians to participate in voluntary initiatives to improve the outcomes of patient care, provide information about the underlying causes of errors in the delivery of health care, and to disseminate this information in order to speed the pace of improvement. Composition. President Clinton's Advisory Commission on Consumer Protection and Quality in the Healthcare Industry completed its work on March 12, 1998. Its final report, entitled Quality First, Better Healthcare for All Americans, recommends the following characteristics of a patient safety organization. Be located in an entity that is credible and respected. Be located in an entity that does not have public or private regulatory responsibilities. Have the ability to collect and analyze data. Have mechanisms for communicating with a variety of healthcare entities, facilities, providers, and plans. Be linked with initiatives for conducting interdisciplinary research and demonstrations addressing healthcare quality improvement. Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality. In 2001, the U.S. Congress responded to the IOM recommendation to create a National Center for Patient Safety by allocating $50 million annually for patient safety research to the Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality, the lead federal agency for healthcare safety. The AHRQ organizes patient safety activities, provides grants to other organizations, serves as a clearinghouse for safety information, and publishes guidelines for evidence-based or best practices. By 2006, the National Guideline Clearinghouse contained more than 1,700 disease-specific diagnosis, management and treatment recommendations, developed from current medical literature. The goal of the NGC is to provide health professionals and institutions, health plans and healthcare purchases an accessible mechanism for obtaining objective clinical practice guidelines. Adoption of guidelines has been slowed by physician and hospital concern that practice guidelines threaten physician autonomy and authority, fuel malpractice liability, and allow managed care insurers to curtail patient care expenditures. Under the Secretary of Health and Human Services, the Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality coordinates the Patient Safety Task Force composed of 3 other agencies with regulatory and data collection responsibilities: the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and its National Electronic Disease Surveillance System, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services and State Quality Improvement Organizations, and the Food and Drug Administration. The AHRQ, in partnership with data organizations in 37 states, sponsors the nationwide inpatient sample, a database of the healthcare cost and utilization project. The HCUP is a federal-state industry partnership providing all discharge data from 994 hospitals, approximately 8 million hospital stays each year. The nationwide inpatient sample is the largest all-payer inpatient care database in the United States from which national estimates of inpatient care can be derived. Using safety data from the NIST, the AHRQ has been able to provide complication rates and risk data, even for rare surgical procedures, such as bariatric surgery. In 2005, AHRQ provided links to a compendium of 140 research articles, implementation programs and tools and products used to improve patient safety, sponsored jointly with the Department of Defense Health Affairs. In 2008, AHRQ launched the AHRQ Healthcare Innovations Exchange site that contains profiles of hundreds of patient safety programs that have been implemented in hospitals and other healthcare settings across the United States. The goal of the site is to document and share these innovations with other organizations that can adapt them in different settings, allowing the adopters to base the quality improvement plans on previously tested methods. Food and Drug Administration. The Food and Drug Administration is an agency of the United States government that regulates food, drugs, medical devices and biological products for human use. The FDA receives medication error reports on marketed human drugs from direct contacts and manufacturers' reports, and in 1992, began monitoring medication error reports that are forwarded from the United States Pharmacopoeia and the Institute for Safe Medication Practices. The effectiveness of the FDA's drug safety monitoring procedures was called into question after several approved drugs were shown to have serious side effects. In September 2006, an Institute of Medicine report commissioned by the FDA found that its drug safety safety system is limited by inadequate funding, insufficient regulatory authority, and a lack of oversight by experts free of pharmaceutical industry ties. The FDA launched a new program in 2005 to provide drug risk information directly to the public through internet-accessible drug sheets and bulletins. The enactment of the Food and Drug Administration Amendments Act of 2007 expanded the authority of the FDA over drug safety monitoring after approval and introduction for use by the public. In 2008, the FDA established a single website for both the public and the healthcare profession with access to drug safety information, including warnings, recalls, and reporting of adverse reactions, using MedWatch.